What is going on, everybody? So as you know, I already did a still worth it video on this specific phone, the iPhone 6s Plus, and I personally think it's not in the world of like underrated phones, but dude, honestly, the iPhone 6s Plus is pretty much everything you need in an iPhone, or just even in a phone in general, especially in 2018. Now, really the only downsides, and I'll get into in a second, are pretty much just the way it looks, but at the same time, it's still one of the strongest and, better feeling phones in the market. And like I said, I did a still worth it video, and absolutely this phone was still completely worth it. But going one step further, I just want to talk about and pretty much say, these are some more reasons as to why this phone is still a pretty decent pickup, and why you should probably consider this phone over a lot of other iPhones in the same price bracket, or even a lot of other phones in the same price bracket too. Now, I will probably break the price down to around $200 to around $300 to $350. So it's not necessarily the cheapest phone in the market. If you're looking for a very cheap budget phone, the iPhone SE is a very good phone as well. But the more I mess with the iPhone 6s Plus, the more I realize I could have easily used this phone for another year or two, and it's still very fast, still very powerful, and iOS 12 is just making it that much more powerful as well. So there's many reasons as to why this phone is still one of the great phones you could get in this price bracket, but I kind of broke it down into 5+ reasons. Now, before I go further, this phone isn't perfect. It has a lot of issues. Some people have stated one issue, some people have said other issues, but honestly, it's good enough. So this is pretty much a breakdown of those reasons. Now, I actually ran some analysis recently, and I looked at the used costs of these and several other iPhones and several other phones in general as well. And I kind of found out that pretty much the used base price for the iPhone 6s Plus is almost $200, as you can see from my quick Excel sheet that I'm going to post on the screen. It's a little bit above it, maybe 65 cents or something, and this was base prices. This was not adding extra cases or accessories or anything crazy like that, and I made sure these phones were working and everything like that. So these were sold prices, so they weren't prices that people were listed. These were prices that people had already bought the phone. So I kind of went through that and looked at which phone would be the best price, and this was pretty much where it was at. And honestly, the iPhone 6s Plus is one of those phones that I had as a daily driver, so I figured this would be a perfect suit for this specific video. Now, one of the reasons, now I have a couple of them, but one of the main reasons why I love the iPhone 6s Plus is the size. The size is super awesome. Some have said that bezel around the screen is bad, but I honestly, it is pretty bad. It's a lot of bezel, especially when you look at something like the iPhone 10, but honestly, you do get pretty used to it. So the first day or two might be a big deal, but even if you're coming from an iPhone 6 or an iPhone SE or 5S or whatever, or even another Android phone like a Galaxy S7 or before, you still have a lot of bezel on that phone as well. So I'm willing to give up bezel to get maybe a better feeling phone, and that is the second reason as to why this phone is pretty much everything you need. Not only is the size pretty decent, but the body feels very premium still. Now, it's not the best feeling body. I would say the iPhone 10, the Galaxy S9, Galaxy S8, Note 8, Note 9, all those phones feel way more premium, but when you kind of look at it for price per value, kind of like what I did before on the Excel sheet, you kind of get an idea that this definitely feels more than a $200 phone. It doesn't feel extremely premium, but it doesn't feel extremely cheap either. And if you were to go out and buy a $200 budget phone, such as a budget Android from Best Buy or something, you might be a little bit better off just getting a used iPhone 6s Plus, to be honest. Now, the third reason is the power and overall performance is still actually very, very good. So it has 2 GB of RAM. It really helped this thing, especially when you look at iOS 12. iOS 12 kind of does help kind of smooth out the process, especially when I look at it on my iPhone 6s. The 6s and the 6s Plus share a lot of the same specs, and when I was messing around with it on this iPhone 6s, I noticed how much more smooth it is, especially comparing it to iOS 11.4.1. So I would say that performance definitely got a boost. You're able to open apps faster, you're able to close apps faster, get into the camera, all that stuff. But really where the main performance boost comes from is really the stability. The stability is one of the main problems I had with iOS 11, and when you look at something like the iPhone 6s Plus, which is such a massive phone compared to an iPhone 6s or even an iPhone 10, you kind of want something that kind of matches the body of the phone, and you want a very stable OS while still having performance, and that's where iOS 12 really comes from, and kind of tries to dig down into the deep roots of iOS and OS in general and try to make it much more smoother and much more better at performance. And like I said, the 2 GB of RAM really helped this thing out. When you're comparing the iPhone 6 Plus to the 6s Plus, there's a massive difference. Now, what I will say is, if you're in the market for a $200 phone, I don't necessarily think you're planning on doing extremely heavy gaming or extremely heavy multitasking or extremely heavy gaming while multitasking and all that stuff. I really don't think you're planning on doing that. the iPhone 6s Plus can handle quite a bit of performance, especially in the back end if you're planning on pulling up apps and all that stuff. But if you're planning on doing that kind of stuff, you might want to look elsewhere. But for the very average user and a little bit even above higher usage, you could easily get through this phone. And for my usage, I don't do a lot, but I do game sometimes. I do other stuff. I never really found this phone to be such a slow device, even on iOS 11. The iPhone 6s is perfectly fine too. So I would say the iPhone 6s Plus can definitely handle pretty much almost everything you throw at it. Now, the fourth reason is the price point. Like I said, this phone has depreciated a lot based off my analysis. It was a small pool, but about 20 price points, so 20 different prices, and it's $200 and it's like 65 cents. So obviously it's a very good deal. It will depreciate more once the newer iPhones come out, but it honestly will not depreciate by much. From my analysis, like I said, I ran it through different iPhones as well. The iPhone 6, pretty much from the iPhone 5s to all the way to the latest iPhone 10. And I found that really the main depreciation happens within the first 2-3 years. This phone has been out for about 4 years. Well, it's gonna be 4 years once the newer iPhone comes out. So it might go down like another like $20 to $30. So if you want one, you could probably wait then and just snag like a used price one. They would probably go down to around $180 to $160, somewhere around that line, or maybe $170. It's not going to depreciate crazy amounts because it already hit most of its depreciation, but you can always get it now too. It really just depends on you. It's not going to depreciate that much, like I said, but still you'll save a bit, and it's still a very good price point. The difference in price is about 5 times more than the iPhone 10. So the iPhone 10 right now, I know the iPhone's coming out like in a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks. The iPhone 10 right now is about $1,000, and once you add tax and everything, it gets more. The iPhone 6 Plus, that's, you're buying it used, there's really no tax sometimes. It really just depends what state and country you live in. But I would say that the iPhone 10 costs 5 times more, but I don't think the iPhone 10 is, 5 times better than the iPhone 6s Plus. It is better, it has a better screen, has glass on the back, wireless charging, but I don't think those things are worth like an extra $800. And that's why it's kind of important to kind of break down the analysis and kind of show you like how much the depreciation actually went down. So the price point is definitely one of the main factors as to me saying that the iPhone 6s Plus is everything you need in a phone because it's powerful, has great size, the body is awesome, and it has a great price point as well. So you can get this phone for relatively cheap, honestly. Now, the fifth reason, I kind of combined a lot of reasons into this to kind of speed up this video and not make it like 30 minutes long, but I kind of want to break it down a little bit. So the fifth reason, which is like 20 reasons in one, the cameras are great. I think, a lot of people said it's not really much of a difference, but I do think the 6s Plus has a very good camera. It can shoot 4K videos. It has optical image stabilization, and you can do live photos, which I never use ever, but you have those functionalities. This phone also has Force Touch or 3D Touch. Super awesome. I like it a lot. I don't think it's the craziest thing ever that Apple ever produced, but it's definitely a cool little interesting thing that Apple put in, and this phone does, use it. It has a pretty big screen. I kind of said this in the first one, but I'm a really big fan of this screen. I wish it was AMOLED, but really for this price point, you can't really complain too much. Another cool thing is the battery life is actually pretty decent. A lot of people have complained about it's not being that good or whatever, but you can always go and replace the battery through Apple for $30 up until the end of this year. So if you do plan on getting this phone, I would really recommend you guys doing that just because it does add that much more battery life. And even through iOS, you can actually go through and see how much battery health you have left. So that is something I would really recommend you guys doing. It's not horrible battery life, don't get me wrong, but it's not really the best, but I would say it's definitely a feature of it just because it is much better than the regular like iPhone 6s, iPhone 7 battery life. This thing still has a fingerprint sensor and a home button, which could be a pro to a lot of you guys. I would really, I love Touch ID and Touch ID 2, which this phone has, so really nice touch. And this thing also has a headphone jack, which, just adds into the title, like it's everything you need, fingerprint sensor, headphone jack, Force Touch, awesome camera. The list goes on and on, but one little final thing I want to end off is, and it's not going to really, tailor to everybody what I'm about to say, but I would say this phone, another huge feature of this is that it's relatively easy to fix. So if you have a problem with the screen, you can easily just replace the screen, and parts are very cheap for it too. If you have a problem with the battery or anything like that, you can easily go in and fix it. Now you can do the same thing with the iPhone 7, 8, iPhone 10, but when let's say you have a problem with the home button, for example, or any other problem like that, you would have to actually go through Apple to get the screen replaced or screen fixed or the home button fixed or whatever, because the home button is actually tailored to that specific phone on the 7, 7 Plus, 8, 8 Plus, and obviously not the iPhone 10, but those phones in general. Whereas on the iPhone 6s Plus and all those variants before, if you have a problem with the home button, you can actually take it out and replace it. without having to change up the screen or anything like that. So that is definitely a pro in my opinion. And like I said, relatively speaking, all the parts for these phones are really cheap. So if you ever want to go and fix it yourself, that is always an option. You don't have to go to Apple to fix it. You can always just fix it yourself, which I would really highly recommend. So everything being said, not only is this phone worth it, but I just think it's everything you need in a 2018 phone. It's not the most perfect phone, it's not the best phone out there right now, but if you have $200 to spend on the used market, I would really recommend it. But if you have a little bit more to spend, I would probably recommend you going through the certified refurbished route on Amazon, which I'll always link in the description below. They're a little bit more expensive, but you also get a much, you get a warranty and you get all the other stuff too, and they're always in better condition. So you can go one route or you can go the certified refurbished route. But I'll leave links in the description for an iPhone 6s Plus. Definitely get it through that link so you can help out the channel and we can actually go and make more videos like this and get more devices and all that stuff. But if you guys have any questions or anything, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every subscriber we get really does count, and it literally makes me feel better at night when I go look at the subscriber count. I just see tons of people vibing with me. So I love talking about older technology, so it'd be really cool to see you guys stick around for that. But definitely check out the links in the description. Obviously, like I said, I'll link the iPhone 6s Plus down there, but feel free to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Those links are down in the description as well. And if you ever need someone to talk to or anything, I'm always here for you. You can shoot me a DM. I don't know if I'll respond or not, but I'll at least probably check it out. Maybe not. I get a lot of DMs, so I'll definitely try to check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.